Hello, my young explorers. It is me again, C.S. Lewis, but you can call me Jack. Today I want to talk to you briefly about one of the things that you hear people say when they don't believe in God. In fact, it is what I used to say when I didn't believe in God myself. All those years ago, I am now very ashamed of that way of thinking, of course. I used to say, if a good God made the world, then why has it gone so wrong? And for many years I simply refused to listen to the Christian answers to this question, because I kept on feeling, whatever you say, and however clever your arguments are, isn't it much simpler and easier to say that the world was not made by an intelligent God? Aren't all your arguments simply a complicated attempt to avoid the obvious? But then that threw me back into another difficulty. My argument against God was that the universe seemed so cruel and unjust. But how had I got this idea of just and unjust? A man does not call a line crooked unless he has some idea of a straight line. What was I comparing this universe with when I call it unjust, if the whole universe was so bad? Why was I, who was part of the universe, able to see that it was bad? Does that mean that I know what bad is then? And does that mean that I know what good is? And if I know what good is, then surely it exists. A man feels wet when he falls into water, because man is not a water animal. A fish would not feel wet. Of course, I could have given up my idea of a bad and unjust universe by saying it was nothing but a private idea of my own. But if I did that, then my argument against God collapsed too. For the argument depended on saying that the world was really unjust, not simply that it did not please my fancies. Thus, in the very act of trying to prove that God did not exist, in other words, that the whole of reality was senseless, I found I was forced to assume that one part of reality, namely my idea of justice and badness and goodness, was full of sense. Consequently, atheism turns out to be too simple. If the whole universe has no meaning, we should never have found out that it has no meaning. Just as if there were no light in the universe, and therefore no creatures with eyes, we should never know it was dark. Dark would be a word without meaning. So if there is no goodness and badness, we really wouldn't know what goodness and badness means. Like the fish who doesn't know what wet means, the very fact that we do know about goodness and badness proves its existence, and therefore this proves the universe has meaning. The fact that I was something in the universe, who thought that goodness is better than badness, i.e. justice is a good thing, is proof that the universe has meaning. The meaning is that goodness is better than badness, which proves that for the universe to have meaning, it must have a creator, who by definition is good. That is God. So next time you hear someone say, "How can there be a good God when the universe is so cruel and unfair?" you can say that they just proved there was a good God with their very question. In the next episode, we will talk about free will and why God has allowed evil to exist on our planet and how it is up to us to stop it in its tracks. Until then, my young explorers, God bless.